We went ahead and put our aluminum strips on the other running board and got it stuck on the car there just temporarily. It's a good place for it. Dug out the rubber seal that goes between the wing and the running board. We still have one of those, and kind of marked our holes there. We've got to modify those holes a little bit on that running board like we did on the other side to match up with the wing, but I think it'll work out okay. Kind of plodding along here just as we've been doing with little dinky jobs. Like I said the other day, we got all of our grommets in place on our bulkhead, and I'm just trying to get started with wiring. I started over here with the pigtail from the headlight and put a bit of shrink tubing around it and ran it down through the pedestal, and that's as far as I got. So that's not too spiffy. But what we're trying to do is take this fender brace and put a harness in it. So it goes over there and bolts to the frame and goes up, and this mates up to the fender and the headlight mount, and then over here you have the marker light, parking light, whatever you want to call it, that goes on top of the fender, and it seems to be just a single wire to the ones I have. They must be internally grounded, so we have a power wire there. And because all I have is a brown wire, I put 3 brown wires down through, plus the red one all the way up through, and I'm certainly aware that that's probably not the way they did it back in 1947, but those aren't the original headlights anyway. And I probably could have gotten away with just 2 wires and grounded that headlight wire internally and then let it ground through the mount and everything, but I decided not to do that because in the past it seems like those grounds can have a problem, come loose or whatever, and the first thing you know, you got to take the headlight apart because it flickers off and on and the ground's not very good. Anyway, I put 3 wires down through there, and I'm going to pull that back out of there here momentarily and clean up the shrink tubing. But what I'm going to have to do is label these wires. I've got those little wire labels, and I'll color code them with labels, you know, green, black, and orange, and red, and obviously the other red one, we know what it is. And then the fender sits here, and this goes up through the pedestal, and then it really has to come out of the pedestal and then loop back up around and go up into the headlight. So probably what I'll do is put my connections in this loop that's exposed and goes up into the headlight, and I may use some bullet connectors or something there that can be disconnected, so that if you want to take the headlight off the car, you can do it without having to cut the wires. And the same for the fender brace and fender. And then down here, I can just continue these wires on up into the car. I've got to do the same thing on the other side. So that's kind of my plan. We'll see how it works. You know, that's the problem when you make up your plan as you go along. It's not really much of a plan, is it? We're rooting around in our stuff, and we got lots of stuff around here. And this is actually pretty old. We got this, you can't see it, can't read it probably. Scotch Code Standard STD-CX wire marker tape dispenser. And this thing is, it's old, I can just tell you that, but it's laying around here and it still functions, and it's got all these little rolls of different colored tape in there, and you open the thing up and pull off a strip and cut it off and wrap it around your wire, and now all of your brown wires are colorfully marked with different colors. So in this case we've got red, black, and green that will correspond with the red, black, and green wires coming from the headlight pigtail, and we've got shrink tubing around the whole thing. I will see if I can feed this back into that fender brace and see if it's going to work. Well, we've jury rigged a little wiring here, but my plan, if I could stop dropping stuff on the damn floor, everything I pick up, I drop. And for all you young guys out there, that's what happens when you get old. At any rate, my plan is to use these butt connectors, male and female, and what I would do is stagger them so they're not all lumped together in one spot. So if we stagger them, hopefully we can have them more in line so they don't make a big bulge in the harness. But at any rate, we'll put 3 butt connectors there and then put some spiral wrap around the whole thing and try to make it tidy where it comes out of the headlight and then loops back up into the stand. So there'll be a little loop there, and we'll make it as tidy as we can. But we've got our little battery source here, and let's just see what happens. Ah, look at that. Let there be light. Well, that's some kind of progress. I don't know what kind, but some kind. We connected some more wires, and I think we learned something. I'm not sure we needed to learn it, but we learned it anyway. The plug for those lights, the pigtail, and I had one here someplace. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, there it is here, wrapped up in candy wrappers. Anyway, it's marked on the back, drive, pass, and ground. And coincidentally, I love using big words when I can, the pigtail for the new light was marked the same way. So in typical backyard wisdom, we determined that drive is the low beam and pass is the high beam. Well, shows how much we know, because there is the pass beam and there is the drive beam. So apparently in England you dip your headlights when you're going to pass. I guess you lower the headlights, go to the low beam when you're going to pass. As far as I know here, now obviously if somebody's coming the other way, you knock your lights from high beam to low beam if you're so inclined. But if you're driving along, you drive along on the low beam, and if you want to pass somebody, you flash your lights at them, that goes to the high beam, and Bob's your uncle. So I guess that's not the way it's done in England. So I'm going to have to redo my schematic accordingly. We did a little gypsy wiring and made a harness to go up through the fender brace, out through a hole here, through the fender, and then it comes out into the headlight support, down through a hole there, and there's some connections there on the other side that connect to the harness from the headlight. And we'll just have to see how that all works out. I think it'll be okay. We can go ahead down here at the bottom and run wires back to our headlight switch from there. But let's just get up here. We've got some jumper leads hooked up, and let's see what we got. Oh baby, we got lights. Look at that. We can see in the dark. Okay, must be time for dinner after that. We out of here.